We're not going to show you the bot that is already built. We're going to build the bot for you live.
You are at the right place. So this online event, we're going to be talking about skyrocket your business with the 5 high-impact automation use cases. That's what you're here to learn. And we're going to tell you a lot about this information, the things that are going on. So the next slide we're going to show you, my name is Kendall Matthews, and here's the agenda for today. We're going to be talking about the proven use cases, and this is going to be very, very educational for you. Talking about onboarding, customer support, reporting, document processing, and cybersecurity. And we're not just going to tell you about it, we're going to show you. You're going to see our live demo presentations as well. But of course, we have some great speakers for you today. And those speakers are Dimitri and Yuri. So before they get into all of the presentations, Dimitri, go ahead and tell us a little about your experience. And then Yuri, go ahead as well. And then you can take it from there. So Dimitri, go ahead.
Thank you, Kendall. Thank you, everyone who came to see the show today. And my name is Dmitry Karpov. I'm co-founder and chief product officer of ElectroNeek. Embarked an automation journey in my life more than 10 years ago. I led many RPA initiatives in the early days of technology, helping biggest banks, national oil and gas companies, insurance companies, and healthcare industry to adopt this technology to transform. And over the last 5 years now with ElectroNeek, we are driving the automation to be more accessible, more affordable to companies of all sizes globally. And it's a pleasure today to demonstrate some of the use cases that we haven't invented. We've really seen them working across the world by many service providers, by many businesses, and benefiting from them. And it's really hard to think about doing these processes in a more traditional way. There's no way to come back in the future. If you will see how the automation works in these use cases, you probably would never like to work in an organization or build an organization that does the things in an old way. So I will take a microphone a bit later. Yuri, please go ahead.
Good afternoon and good morning, everyone. So I know we have people from all over the world here in the call. So we are in the States, so Eastern time zone. I'm in Florida, so glad to see several attendees from Florida as well. So I joined ElectroNeek like 2.5 months ago. So I can tell you, really exciting place, and what makes it special, it's really innovative product. So our RPA platform really saves money and make your organization super lean and efficient when it comes to eliminating repetitive use case scenarios and repetitive actions and procedures with your team. So and obviously connecting multiple systems so they're talking to each other and eliminating manual mistakes with manual labor. So we will talk more about the scenarios. And we will talk more about the particular use cases. So we're really excited. We have a great lineup of demos. So we'll make this webinar super interesting and very efficient for you.
Great. Let's start with paying some tribute to the team for winning our platform 2 awards recently, pretty much at the same time. AI Breakthrough Award for Robotic Process Automation. We are the pioneers of infusing AI in pretty much every step that you can do in building automation. You will see it during the demos today. And also the CRN Technology Innovation Award. CRN is the major magazine for managed service providers. That's an industry where we do have significant expertise, and some of the cases you would see today, they originated from this industry and now are making to pretty much all customer support, for instance, teams or IT teams that do user onboarding. So it was an incredible journey. Thank you, ElectroNeek team. Thank you all the customers and clients and users who helped us to get there by providing feedback and by actually using the product so they can become better. So the cases you would see today, they're coming from ElectroNeek bot library. That's something you can find inside the platform. That's something that didn't exist there just 7 months ago. And that's the place which we invest a lot, because we tend to think that automation outside of the big enterprise context, when there is an army of consultants, needs to be very practical. It means that you're not looking for opportunity to find and eliminate routine. You propose businesses, you propose users, you propose colleagues, solutions that are to a certain degree end-to-end beneficial, that may not be automating the whole big process that has many complexities and maybe many exceptions and complex logic that requires a lot of custom work. but something that pretty much all businesses need due to the nature of their industries. And if you're in the service business, using these cases or different cases, but packaged in a similar way, we're going to show you how the bot library is organized. Inside, you can find a demo for a user or a prospect. You can find a guide on how to build this bot. You can actually watch the recording of how bot is being built in the platform. You can download the bot and all the materials and pretty much use it out of the box if you have the same software stack. If the software stack is a bit different, then you can customize this bot to work in your specific environment. That's a place where we'd like all users to spend more time, and actually we see that average ElectroNeek developer visits bot library now twice a day for the inspiration, for the templates, for the out-of-the-box bots. So you will see the library today during some of the demos. And let's start with unpacking the first case, which is a digital document processing, something that I think businesses of all sizes can understand. Yuri, please go ahead.
Yeah, the first use case is actually probably the most obvious, right? All of us are dealing with the multiple documents today. So there is no business which is document-free at the moment. So at least you are sending out invoices, collecting money, provisioning new accounts, collecting your customer's ID or your customer's documents, or dealing with the customer contracts. We have as a part of our product, so we have IDP solution called IntelliDocs. So which can be run as a standalone. It can be the part of the bot, so it can do way more than just withdrawing the data from particular document type. And it can actually help you in multiple verticals, so in multiple scenarios. And on the left side on the slide, you see here, so multiple forms which you are able to recognize. But I can tell you that we can recognize up to 3,000 different forms, so in multiple languages. In I believe like 70 plus languages today. So, and we deal with the files in all possible formats, about 30 different formats, starting from traditional PDF, JPEGs, you name it. And it's not just particular text withdrawal, it's also ability to recognize images on the photos, it's ability to recognize the handwriting, the signature, and obviously get this particular data and put it in the system of your choice. So if you're running your customer CRM system, if you are running your particular ERP or payment systems, you can always withdraw it from the customer contracts or from the customer documents and put it to particular fields. That will definitely simplify and speed up your processing power. So will save you time and eliminate manual mistakes. So it's, again, very easy, straightforward use case scenario, and we would love to show you a quick bot demo to showcase how you can operationalize that.
In the spirit of our recent events, we're not going to show you the bot that is already built. We will show you a few for the other cases. We're going to build the bot for you live. And I wanted to pay special attention how easy it became to process documents and in general structured data when you have myriad of pre-trained models to do that work for you, when they don't require to map the data, don't require to tell the bot what data is in front of them. It all happens automatically. Let's go ahead, Ivan.
Okay, so let's start with the first demo. We'll look at this digital document processing bot, and just like Dimitri said, we'll be building that live right now. So let's open up Studio Pro. And first, what this bot will do is it will gather invoices from emails. So let me show you how those emails will look. And then it will use our intelligent document processing solution, IntelliDocs, for recognizing what those documents are and then automatically extracting and structuring their output data. And then we will use that to write that information into an Excel file. So these are the emails. As you can see, this is the first one. It's just a very common email with an invoice attached to it. Then we have our second one, which looks very similar to this, but you will notice that the structure of the invoice is actually different. But IntelliDocs won't have an issue with this. Once it recognizes that it's an invoice, it will be able to extract the data that we need from it in a structured manner. And we won't need to train it specifically for each format. This is the third email, and there's a third format as well for it. Right, so those documents will be downloaded automatically to this folder, which we will see in a moment, and they will get written into this file right here as an invoice list, and we'll get the invoice number, bill to information, and the due date and its amount. Perfect. So let's get started building that bot. So the first thing that we need to do in this bot, the first activity we need to add is we need to go through the email inbox to get those emails that will contain the invoices. So for that, we will use the for each email activity from the email section. In that activity, we just need to set up the account. In my case, I already have my account credentials set up right here. So I just need to select that. The server in this case will be a Google account. And of course, you can use any other as well. And I will filter by status and check the unread only option. So I only process emails that have not been processed already. Then in the filter by content section, I only want to work with emails that have the words invoice on them and the subject. Otherwise, I don't want to process them at the moment. Then in the attachments section, I want to check the download attachments option, of course. And in order to set where do I want to download these attachments, I will simply copy and paste the path to this folder that I have right here. Perfect. Then the emails themselves will be marked as read. So in the next execution, they won't be processed again. Right. Now that I'm looking through the emails, I first need to save the content of each one of these emails to a variable. So I'm going to set up a very quick variable called email content that will save the previous step result. It will save the contents of each email that is captured. Next, I'm going to grab the path to the invoice that has been downloaded from that email. So we can grab that from the email content variable as well. We'll set up another one called invoice path. And in order to grab that, we just need to gather some information from that email content variable, particularly the first attachment. So that's how we will get that. Perfect. So once we have the path to that invoice, we can now use our extract document data activity that is integrated directly with IntelliDocs. So we can process that document via IntelliDocs and get its data. So we drag that activity, extract document data, and that activity will require an API key from IntelliDocs. I already have mine set up right here, so I just will use that. And then we just need the path for that file, which we have already isolated into the invoice path variable. So that's what we will be using right here. Perfect. Now, the results of that extraction will be saved to this variable that was uttered automatically, which is the IntelliDocs OCR content variable. And now what we just need to do is isolate the actual fields that we need. In order to do that, we will save the fields extracted from this document into a variable called invoice fields, which will feed off that result from IntelliDocs. So this is how we will set that up. IntelliDocs OCR content fields. And then we will be able to point to every specific field that we need, like the invoice number, the bill to, the due date, and the amount. And we will write those directly to the Excel file, the spreadsheet, using the append row to Excel file activity. So in that activity, what we need to do is first just set up what's the file that we want to write into. And that's right here in our desktop. So we'll select it right here. Then in order to set up the values that we need to write into it, I already have that prepared right here. I'll just kind of paste it. As you can see, we're using the invoice fields variable, and we're pointing to every single value that we need, like the invoice number, the bill to, the due date, and the total. And that's all we need to do to set up those values, and those will be written automatically to the Excel file. Now, all I need to do is, since this is the end of what I want to do for every email, I'll just connect that to the end of our loop. And with that, our workflow is ready, and we can now write. All I need to do first is just make sure that those emails are set to be unread, because I had set up that as part of the filters. And with that, I can now run this and see the results. So the bot will first go through each email. It will grab their respective invoices, download them to the folder that we saw, and then it will extract the document data from each one of them, and then write the fields that we indicated into the Excel file one at a time. So it's going through those. It's all doing all that in the background. And once it's done, we'll look at those results. In fact, I think it's processing the last one. And with that, the workflow was successful. We can now see that the invoices have been downloaded to the folder. And if we check the invoice list, we will see that all the data from those invoices has been added to the table. The invoice number, the bill to, the due date, and the amount. And as you saw, we didn't need to specifically train for each format. IntelliDocs took care of that and automatically extracted all those fields that we needed.
Thank you so much, Ivan. If you're in the industry for more than a year, you may notice that like building such bot on any platform a year ago will be much longer process. And I believe that this is the trend, that building a bot should not be that long and complex process. And that's where we push a lot in terms of the user experience of the automation by giving them tools to turn a text description, a file with a specified format, a data lake essentially, into something that can be easily digested. And you will see today the applications of AI in other use cases, because pretty much where you can put AI allows you to make bots much more capable for it. And where you can use AI in the development process allows you to build much faster. So we get to the user onboarding. A very interesting use case. To me, it's one of the kind of rudiments of the time where IT operations were manually. So what's user onboarding essentially? It's about when you need to add a user to an existing organization, or if, for instance, you onboard the whole organization. As an IT service provider, as an IT team, as someone who's maybe a freelancer for a business, you need to do certain actions across systems in terms of assigning accounts, access management rights, managing roles, managing distribution lists, managing different access databases. And when you execute this process, highly unlikely you would need to exercise any human judgment once you decided to execute. You either need to add a user or to remove a user. And both do this much faster, much quicker, or much, let's say, volume of these operations can be much higher than humans. So yes, there are some solutions that are integrated with each other where this user management can be simplified. In majority of use cases, it is not. Microsoft licenses would be the first one. Provisioning of 365 licenses is probably one of the major use cases here. We will show you a bit more complicated cases when access management happens in HubSpot, in the system that is used by many, many companies globally. But when you see that case, you can think about any software product, either desktop, either software as a service. It doesn't really matter. But you can eliminate 95% of all manual operations there. That's very fascinating. You can onboard users much faster. And many organizations that do have people who spend majority of their time in this universe of IT operations. So let's take a look how companies that either provide this to clients or internal IT teams or anyone who serves users in their organization can do it in a very different way than yesterday.
Perfect. So for this demo, we'll actually jump into the bot library as discussed. So here we are, the bot library inside the ElectroNeek platform. Here we can see all the different case groups, technologies, industries, and departments that the cases encompass. And here's where we're going to look for our first demo, which will be the HubSpot user management demo. So we can get started for user management. And here we have right here. So for each one of these demos, we have, of course, a very quick description and prerequisites for them. Then the demo, which we'll be looking at now. And as discussed, we also have the step-by-step instructions to building it, a video on how to build it, and the ability to download that bot. For now, we'll focus on the demo and looking at how this process works. So let's open that up. And let's look at this use case. So this particular case, this bot will read an email that will contain instructions for adding users to HubSpot. And those instructions will involve not only their names and emails, but also the accesses that need to be granted to those users. So when we'll look at that an email that contains all of that information, that's right here. So we have an email with all the data, and then a bot will simply read this email, and then go into HubSpot and add each one of those employees, making sure to use this data and set up the accesses for each one of the HubSpot modules, just as indicated right here. So let's jump quickly to how the bot executes, and we'll see the results for that. So first of all, of course, the bot reads that email, extracts everything that it needs from it, and then it moves on. So actually speed up the execution. it's actually going to repeat this for 10 different users. So it's logged into HubSpot, and it's now starting to add the users themselves by using their email addresses, and then very quickly setting up just the different, the yes or no accesses to each one of their modules. So as you can see, it's simply repeating that process for every single email address and user that was added to that email. Then once it's done, it will send out a report. So as we can see, it's going through those, and it's also sending an email at the end of each one of those users. It's sending an email to that user, letting them know that their account is ready. And at the end of the whole process, it will reply to the requester of the onboarding process, letting them know and sending them a quick summarized report of how all of these users have been already added and a status for them and all their information summed up. So let's actually jump quickly to, let's resume normal speed and jump to the end of this, because there's actually 10 users that are being added, and we can jump just to the last one. So you can skip a couple of minutes right here. Perfect. So we'll see how it added. So in this case, it managed to add all 10 of those users in around 4 minutes. And of course, this is for this particular system. And now we will see those emails that have been sent for each one of those users, and also the final report that has been sent when all of those users have been onboarded. So we'll see that email in a moment. There it is. That's an example of the email that has been sent to the HubSpot user itself. Of course, these addresses are just made up for the demo. That's why we got a mail to delivery subsystem reply. But of course, this will be sent to an actual email address, so they will get a notification that their account has been created. And then we'll see the final report that is sent to the requester, summarizing the information of all these accounts, letting the requester know that the process has been completed successfully. And that's sent out as an Excel spreadsheet with the information for every single one of those users. And at the end, we have a column that says processed, which says done for all of them. If there were some sort of issue or anything that maybe the email was incorrect or something that didn't go right, we'll be able to add a status there so somebody could pick it up automatically later on. And in this case, everything worked correctly, so that report showcases it. And that would be the user management and user onboarding demo with HubSpot.
Thank you. Customer support is a very interesting area because that's pretty much, again, majority of time. Let's say if user onboarding takes 20% of time in many IT professionals or organizations, then customer support takes 50, 60%. This industry in the past was about trying to understand what needs to be done, collecting the data to remediate, and then taking actions to remediate. I can tell you now it can be automated end-to-end for many level 1 requests. But different organizations adopt automation of customer support differently. The first area is to look at it. Do you have any redundancies in processes that are not driven by, common sense, but driven by certain SLAs or contractual obligations, like synchronizing tickets between one support system and another support system? That's many IT service companies spend their time on that. Many IT teams need to support multiple systems due to internal compliance procedures. How do you create tickets? Out of what? Typically, majority of tickets will be created out of emails. These emails need interpretation. And until recently, those who work in customer support believe that the ticket creation procedures should not even be automated because of the level of, let's say, trash information there. Some of the emails cannot clearly be translated in ticket support ticket. Then, once you have the ticket created, how do you classify and route it correctly to the right professional to start addressing that? Can a bot or automation pull all the information from, let's say, your service history for this user to present to the customer support professional? All the communications, they can sit across different software systems. Then, in the majority of cases, once you understand what needs to be done, that can be automatically executed, like launching cloud backup, restarting the machine, rebooting the server, doing something that seems like an easy level 1 solution. Would you completely rely on automation to do that? Maybe not. but you can reduce the role of customer support professional to review and approval process. And this all became possible because of the large language models and GPT specifically ability to classify tickets correctly, and our ability to collect the data and to create tickets and route them correctly. So we would like to look at that. And before we move into the demo, I'd like to highlight another area of customer support that is, I think, painful for many organizations that provide it. It's reporting. It's understanding what actually takes time. It's auditing tickets. Like, can something be addressed in 2 minutes without automation? Probably not. But what if you see a 2-minute ticket here? Should it go to billing or to a dashboard, for instance, in an internal organization? Many individualities there can be addressed by bots that use not only API, but user-level interface access to systems to pull the right information, to reconcile it together, and to ensure transparency and integrity of customer support operations. And with these automations, you will never miss a ticket. Ivan, please go ahead.
Perfect. Let's look at that customer support bot demo then. We'll go back to the bot library. This time we'll search for SendUS, which is the beginning of the name of our bots. And we can see it right here. It's the SendUS ticket creation with OpenAI bot. So what this bot will do is it will read emails, and they will be fully natural language emails. And the bot will extract their data and will use the GPT language model which we had the integration with to determine what type of requests are these emails. Are they support requests? Are there other types of comments or requests? And if it detects that these emails are support requests, it will automatically create tickets for them in SendUS and then reply to that email, sharing that SendUS ticket so that the conversation can be followed up right there. So let's first look at those emails right here. So we can see that we have 2 support requests that for asking help for different types of situations. And one of them is just a quick message indicating that the license has been activated, so it doesn't need a follow-up action on it. So we don't need to create a ticket for it. Right, so let me just jump straight over to the execution of that bot, and we'll see how it does it. So it will actually run that communication with the GPT language model in the background, but it will show us a message in the screen letting us know that this is the category that was determined for every specific request. So let's see how it starts. First of all, of course, first step, it will be the same for each email activity we saw earlier. It will go through each one of them, extract their information, and that's what it will feed on to the OpenAI integration to GPT. And in that prompt to GPT, it will ask to determine this category and answer us with that category. In this, for the first email, support ticket category has been determined. It will determine that for one more as well. And the third one will actually be determined as a comment. Once the request has been detected as a support ticket, it automatically creates that ticket in SendUS and replies to that email, then moves on to the next request. And once it's out of requests, of course, the bot will finish. There we have the third one, which is simply a comment, so no follow-up action is required. Perfect. So we can now see the emails that have been sent in reply to the same requester. So we have the 3 original emails, and then for the 2 support requests, we have 1 email per each one of them, letting the user know that a ticket has been created with their specific request. And the information for this request was not just the one from the email, but one summarized by the AI as well. The AI gives us more information in order to create that ticket by basically summarizing what's the problem that has been reported in this request. And with that, we can look at this ticket itself once it has been created in SendUS. Quickly jump over to that part. So here we can see that even though the user itself never actually used this as a subject specifically, or even if there's no more information in the email itself, the AI will summarize all of it and include it in the ticket itself once it creates it. Same thing, of course, with the second one that we saw just now. Perfect. And of course, this same solution can be used for reading the contents of tickets themselves once they are already created and categorizing them. In this particular case, we're just focusing on detecting them from email and recategorizing them, but the integration and technology itself that's behind this can be used for many, many more applications.
So it's very interesting to see that we received a lot of questions in the Q&A form, and they're very similar. How to deal with two-factor or multi-factor authorization. And this is the big topic. We run into that on many of the events, and there are many ways to deal with that. So first of all, if you do have an API access to your system, you will use that one. So it will reduce the need for authentication. Second one, many bots are run in copilot mode, which means that employee will run them on the computers once they already logged in all the systems. For more transactional things like here in the tickets and emails, there are still many, many ways like browser-based second-factor authentication that we can use. And I don't know anyone who rejected automating the process because of the authentication. It's pretty much something to deal with in the nature of the software stack you use. And in very rare scenarios, you will need to pretty much go into copilot mode for the reason of authentication. Usually we'll go it for other reasons in terms of control over process, put in a human in the loop, and so on. So it's not something that should stop you thinking about automating the processes, but it's something that definitely need to be considered while someone who engineers the automation will look into how to do it in the best way for the user experience and for the efficiency of automation. Okay, let's get to the reporting. Yuri, like to take it or like me to take the step?
Okay. So in terms of reporting and reporting automation, obviously we have multiple systems we're dealing with every day. So your customer databases, CRM, or any ERP financial systems. So or if you're using something lighter than ERP, and you need to throw the data between them, right? And obviously make sure that all the records you are dealing with, starting from the marketing and down to the customer success and customer relations, all the data is interconnected. Using multiple systems sometimes creates issues. So not all the time they're connected. So, and you also need to make sure that if you're doing any migration, so I'm able to capture the data. So, and connecting your data to your reporting and BI system sometimes is also challenging. So what we can do, we can actually collect it with our bots, so on a regular basis. So to make sure that every time the data is on your schedule and it's fresh, you can actually put it in the right moment at the right time, right? So and obviously make sure that all the routine data manipulations and data hygiene, data deduplication, happens as well on your schedule. So and happens with a decent quality, so without human mistakes. So that's what we can provide with our platform. So let's jump into the demo.
Yeah. Thank you, Yuri. I usually encourage those who haven't automated reporting in their companies to think about this. What if you have magic wand that can connect all the data and bring them to you in any form you need? What would you like this wand to do? Then start thinking about the systems and reports and so on. But what if you have magic instant access to specific data in your company? What the data you'd like to have on your fingertips daily?
Perfect. So we'll look at the reporting demo. So that's also hosted in our bot library. So let's go back to the all bots section. And now we'll search for the comprehensive reporting automation demo right here. So the title itself mentions HubSpot because that's one of the systems that is being automated. But we're actually extracting data from both systems that we've seen today, like HubSpot and SendUS, and it's extracting very different types of reports, both in Excel format, but with different structures. And then it will integrate these two reports into a single one to determine for each user that has been extracting that report in HubSpot, how many tickets were opened by that user. So let's look at that. So first of all, let's jump just straight over to the execution, and we'll see how the first thing the bot will do is go over into HubSpot, first log in, and then export the first part of this report. So once it performs the login, it navigates directly to the report side. Of course, you can open and then navigate, or you can open the URL that you need directly. And that's the report, the contacts by lead status. and it has it going through the interface. It's clicking on the export options. It'll change the file format from CSV to Excel. In this case, it will work with both reports in Excel format, but of course, a bot can read any other format and then turn it into any other format as well. In this case, we'll work exclusively with Excel. Right, so once that report has been exported, the same bot will open another system, in this case, SendUS, and it navigates also directly to the page for the tickets by end client report, and it will export it as well via the interface, changing the format from image and PDF to Excel. So we have both reports in the same format. Now, the next part of the bot is mostly just, there won't be much to see in the screen because it's all working in the background. All the integration and the processing between these two reports and generating the new report in Excel is all being done in the background by the bot. So I will, as we can see, this will take just a couple minutes, but I will jump straight to the end of this so we can see the end result of it that will be sent in an email, actually. Right, so now that the bot is finished, let's look at that end report that will contain data from both sources, which has been sent into this email as an attachment. So as we can see, we have data from HubSpot with the contact IDs, the contact names, and the basic business-related information for that user. And then for each one of those users, we have their ticket numbers, or the amount of tickets right next to that. And if you wanted to create, of course, a more comprehensive report with the specific ticket numbers for each one or more details about that, as long as we have access to that in any of those systems, that is definitely possible as well. It's just a matter of generating that report and then integrating those reports in the same fashion as we just saw in this particular case.
So security is a very interesting topic. And actually it's a broad topic in a modern organization because you have to deal with the multiple issues. So when I say security is not a traditional antivirus, right? So where we had like 10 years ago in our practice. So nowadays it's more about web application firewall, which is also becoming a legacy product, so API security or security monitoring system. So, I mean, all of those systems are popping up every day, becoming more and more sophisticated. So, and unfortunately, they're not talking to each other. So you can connect Salesforce CRM with multiple tools, but I mean, very little chance you will be able to connect your bus system or a SIEM system to their multiple other security components. So that's exactly where we can help. So first of all, you can make sure that you will collect the right statuses and the right data from the multiple systems, and make sure that you will operationalize a particular event-triggered communication, event-triggered messaging within your team. So if something happens, they will immediately jumping in and taking action. So you will be able to also do your internal users onboarding, so provisioning them on the multiple security systems, and make sure that the accounts are up and running and profiles are correct. And also you will be able to do particular actions, again, triggered by events. So it means that you can operationalize routine operations like backup or actually trigger a backup. So, I mean, if something happens, right? So, and if the system gives you a signal that, for example, you're under attack. So, I mean, it means that you need to do particular actions on the multiple systems. So, I mean, some of them will catch and do it immediately, but you need to make sure that you will save your data. So, and do particular, let's say, backup operations or disaster recovery operations on time. So, and eliminate the human factor here. So that's exactly where we can step in. Also, it will help you to do your, I would say, routine or maintenance checks and maintenance events for your file servers, for particular virtual machines. Make sure that you will do your, I would say, health, hygiene, and quality control. So when it comes to having all up and running according to your internal policies, or actually even to police the internal policies with particular, I would say, data requirements in place. So with that, handing it back for Ivan for a demo.
Perfect. So for this use case, for the security use case, we'll actually look at two different demos for two different bots. So
One of them will be mostly related to security tasks performed on Windows itself, and the other one will integrate with a system, with a security system, which will be FortiGate, and we'll see different tasks performed for each one. So the first one, the one that will be working entirely within Windows, it will be about setting up a firewall rule in Windows Defender via an email request. So we'll see that the email itself that has been sent is the following. So this is a very simple email that will just include the name of that rule that we need to set up in that firewall, the port type, which could be UDP, the ports could be a single one or could be a full range, and then whether this rule will be for allowing communication through that port or for blocking communication through that port. And then the bot will read this email and it will perform those steps just like a user would via the user interface of the Windows firewall. So let's see how that is performed by the bot. Let's see the execution. Of course, the first thing will be to read this email as usual. And then it will open up the Windows firewall advanced options, and then we'll see how it very quickly moves through all the options required to set up that rule. There it goes. It's already opening it up. Now it gets to inbound rules, new rule, and it starts setting up the options as specified in the email. And finally, it will just assign the name that was selected for that email, for that rule via the email. And now we can open up that same screen and see how that rule has been created. In this case, we call it ElectroNeek rule. So we can check it out and confirm that it has been set up correctly. Perfect. So, and then we have our second demo, which, as I mentioned, is going to be about integrating with FortiGate, another solution, in this case, a third-party solution that provides security services. In this case, we'll be creating a VLAN interface inside a FortiGate instance. So let's see how that looks. First of all, we see the FortiGate instance as it is before the bot runs. So we can see that it has a couple of physical interfaces, a LAN and a WAN. And what this bot will do, will add a VLAN into that LAN. So this will all be done entirely via the user interface, the web interface of this instance. There is no API code or any kind of external connector required at all. It's all done via the interface of this FortiGate instance. So it will log out. So the bot will also perform the login. And let's look at that bot. So this is just to showcase very quickly that every single activity that we are using in this bot is all done through the web interface. We're not using any code or API. Of course, we do have that ability, but in this case, it was not necessary at all. The information for that VLAN itself, in this case, we just put it into a JSON file, but just like this, we can use any other type of configuration file, like an Excel or a CSV, a TXT file, an XML, a database, an email, really any source of data that can be read can be used for this data. That's where we have the name of the instance of the interface that we're going to create, its ID, its port, and its address. And that's all the information that the bot will need in order to create that. So the bot will, of course, read that file and perform the action itself. It will first perform the login, read that file, and then add the interface. Let's see how that looks. First, it opens the instance, of course, logs into it. And now it will add that new interface by navigating via the web elements of FortiGate. It will create that instance inside that LAN. And as you can see, now that the bot is over, we can see that a FortiGate instance with the physical interfaces. And now below that LAN interface, we have the VLAN that was created with the exact specifications that were in that configuration file. And that's just a quick showcase of how our bots can integrate with not only the native Windows configuration for security, but also any third-party application, both via API, via desktop interface, and as well via web interface. Regardless of how the system can integrate, an ElectroNeek bot will be able to integrate with it. So that would be the end of the cybersecurity demos. And I believe the next slide is about a Q&A session.
Perfect. So we got to the end, and a few kind of final words on the cybersecurity automation. I think here the maximum ROI would not come from the complexity of cases, but will come from simple, discrete routine operations that are very common in this area. Some people understand cybersecurity automation as using onboarding automation, for instance, or provisioning, installing the security software on devices. And They kind of overlap a bit with customer support and user onboarding, but if your major service area, or that's what your team does, is related to ensuring that companies can operate securely, there are many routine operations that you can automate with bots like this. Again, pursue simplicity, not the complexity, and I think you will get higher ROI on this. We go to the Q&A session, so I'd like to take one of those that actually came very early. I think it came from a service provider or potential service provider, and the question sounds like this. Could you suggest idea for marketing outreach and automation? And I think the whole webinar we did today is about these ideas, but I can tell you a bit more insights about how I personally would do that if I will be a service provider at this moment. I will think about document types more than about processes. That's why we presented the document processing as the first case. It's the most universal one. It's much easier to communicate in terms of, do you process invoices in tens of thousands a month? If so, how do you do it? Do any of your operations involve taking manual data like copy pasting from a digital doc like bank statement or passport into a system? These are much simpler questions to ask prospects, and also these are the great questions for marketing campaigns. So think about this. I think once we get to the point when document automation with AI became much more easier to companies of all sizes, that's the time to put that behind marketing campaigns, because that's maybe 5 to 7 years opportunity now. And along my career in innovation and technology space, I've seen how documents first being digitized and how then being stored, how the manual paperwork went out. Now it's time to get rid of any manual processing of files. Think about any documents as something that just pieces of data that your businesses need to collect together in order to operate. So that's form of having a PDF or scanned image goes away. It's just information. You need to make sure this information is fed into your systems automatically. Okay, there was a question about Zoom quitting on me twice. Sorry, I think we had in general good state of the streaming. If any of you experience challenges, please let us know. We're going to distribute the recording of this. And please, more questions are welcome.
More questions welcome. Then I would also, let's go ahead and share that next slide as well. So we want to make sure that folks become heavily involved with us. And so if you want to book a meeting with our team, just go ahead and scan that QR code and make sure that our team is there for you so you can see the different opportunities that we have available for you. So what we will do is we'll send to everyone who is registered for this online event. We'll send you the links and make sure you have that. We also have, we're easy to find online. So we are ElectroNeek.com. Just go ahead and visit us and we'll be able to talk to you. We have a lot of great resources on our website as well for you to make sure that you can see even the demos again, or even checklists that we have available that are on our blog. So for everyone here, we want to wish you a happy automation and making sure that you have a happy and a great day. So thank you everyone for attending.
Thank you, team. Thank you everyone who attended. Have a good day.